You can't talk to David ever again, which is kind of disappointing. I would be interested in, like, following up on this, like, little conversation, but whatever. So I'm remembering... Oh, yeah, I remember exactly what we need a soy cat for. It's just not something that we necessarily have access to right this second. Oh, wait! I missed something. Come on. A young woman stands at the bar, smoking a cigarette. You've seen her face before. Lucky strike. One of the mercenaries in Monica's files. A plume of blue-gray smoke spills from the corner of her mouth as she turns her attention to you. Hey. The distinctive circuit pattern tattoos that line her face shimmer and pulse with light. You need something? I don't believe that we've met. I'm Novacat. Yeah, I know who you are. She takes a drag on her cigarette. How you holding up, champ? I heard what happened to your boss. She wasn't just my boss, she was a friend. She smirks, then lets the smoke escape from the corner of her mouth. Yeah, well, sorry for your loss and all that. A lot of people are still torn up about it. So, do you need something? Or are you just going to stand there staring? Why'd you bring up Monica? Did you know her? I met her a couple times. Seemed nice enough. She takes another drag on her cigarette. But I mostly knew her by reputation. You can't live in this Kiaz without hearing about the Queen of the Cruise Bazaar. She pauses, then slowly lets the smoke escape through her nostrils. Can't say that I was a fan. Whoa there. Monica didn't control the Cruise Bazaar. Didn't she? She locks eyes with you. Then why did the place start falling apart the second that she got geeked? She takes another drag on her cigarette. The smoke spills out of her mouth as she speaks. Either Monica controlled the Cruise Bazaar, or she had her fingers in so many pies that she might as well have. Comes out to the same thing either way. Lucky Strike taps out her cigarette and leans toward you, a predatory grin on her face. You and your friends, you followed Monica too. Obeyed her orders without question, right? Not without question. There were debates. And at the end of those debates, Monica would put her foot down and you wind up doing whatever she said, right? She smirks at you. Don't bother answering. It was a rhetorical question. For such a rabid anarchist, your friend seemed awfully comfortable being in power. Kind of a contradiction in terms, don't you think? I mean... She's right. She's not wrong. It's not, like, nice to say, but she's not wrong. Fair point, but you aren't going to change my opinion of Monica. I wasn't trying to. Remarkable thing about living in a free society. We're allowed to have different opinions. She shrugs. Don't take it personally. I'm sure that you wouldn't like my friends either. One last thing, Novacat. I can't stop you from stepping into Phil Schaefer's shoes. You're already doing it, making all the same moves she did. A word of advice, though. Don't take too much on yourself. Spread the responsibility around. Good of you to care. She turns away. I don't. But in a place like this, stacking too much power on any one person is dangerous. Not just for that person, but for everybody. The last thing that we need is for you to eat a bullet and for this whole place to fall apart again. Fair points. I mean, she's not wrong. She's actually just completely right all the way. Which is rough. But, you know. Sometimes it is. Alright, let's take a quick little break before we continue, because we're going to have a lot of conversation with all the party members. And then we'll go off on another mission. She still rubs me the wrong way, but yeah, she has fair points. Yeah, I mean, she's tactless, but she's not wrong, right? Like... It's the kind of thing where she's right, but she's an asshole, so you don't want to agree with her, you know? Alright. I'll be right back. I'm back. And I have coffee. Alright, let's do a lot more reading. Blitz looks up at your approach. The table beside him is littered with cigarette butts, and a data jack cable dangles from a portable terminal set up by his side. Hey, Chief. You need something? Just checking in. You doing alright? His smile widens. Great, Chief. I'm doing just great. It's real nice to be able to wind down and relax for a change. No more worrying about this ganger or that ganger sneaking behind me and slipping a knife between my ribs. He slaps the table with a grin. It's a good change, Chief, I've got to say. Good. Then you can focus on getting our current job done. Novacat, come on. He gestures at himself with a flourish. Blitz is always 100% focused. Now that you're settled in, I've got some questions for you. Blitz glances wistfully back at the terminal on the table, then turns back with a sigh of resignation. I suppose. But try to keep it short, okay, Chief? I've got things to do. How long were you in Dragonfall? I ended up there after the anarchist revolution of 39. I was just a kid back then, too young to realize how good I was, how much money I could have made working the shadows. He shakes his head, a wistful expression on his face. And so, being young and dumb, I fell in with the gang crowd, and that was that. You were a member of a drug gang. Why should I trust you? Why wouldn't you, Chief? I mean, just look at me. He does his best to give you a winning smile. I'm a trustworthy guy. Prove it. Tell me about the gang that you ran with. Well, I don't know all that much, Chief. I wasn't a member of gang leadership or anything. I am not really sure why you care either. Consider it a test. I need to know where your loyalties lie. He rolls his eyes. If that's what it'll take for you to trust me, fine. Anything for you, Chief. Well, where to begin? When I first arrived at the Dragonfall, I spent some time taking in the lay of the land. The Schwarzherzen were still a pretty small gang, strictly street level, but I could see they were going places. I did a little pro bono decking for their leader, a fat little dwarf named Dieter. Soon enough, I was a part of the family. For a drug gang, the Schwarzherzen were decent enough folks. I made a lot of money with them, helped them pick the hotel in the first place. We had a lot of good years there. Then Dieter was killed in a firefight, and our happy little family fell apart. Was that when the hotel got attacked? Blitz takes a deep breath, shifts his weight from one foot to another. Not exactly. The Schwarzherzen maintained their hold on Dragonfall, but the change of leadership was bad news for me. After Dieter kicked the bucket, his second-in-command took over. She was a real piece of work. Called herself Leonie Luster. She had a vicious streak a mile long, and she was not too fond of me. I can't imagine why not. I know! What's not to like? Maybe she felt threatened by my friendship with Dieter back before he ate that bullet. Or maybe she was just jealous of my rugged good looks. Who the hell knows? The point is, she went after me. Vigorously. Within 24 hours of Dieter's death, I had a price in my head. And then the hotel got taken over. So that's what you need to know about the Schwarzherzen. They were a great gang, a powerful gang. I helped to make them that way. Then they had a management turnover and everything went to hell. Blitz rocks back on his feet, his hands in his pockets. That's it. End of story. Anything else you want to talk about? Wait a second. That isn't it. There's some pretty big holes in that story. Come on, Chief. This is all ancient history. Wouldn't you rather talk about the future? The runs we're gonna go on, all the money we're gonna make? Blitz, tell me what happened between Luster putting the price on your head and the hotel getting attacked. Alright, Chief. Fine. If that's what it'll take to make you happy. So I was in a bind, right? The members of the Schwarzherzen were loyal to Luster. Who were loyal to Luster were all out for my blood. And none of the others were going to stick their necks out for me. The advantage of being a ganger is protection in numbers. When those numbers turn against you, you've got to get creative if you want to stay alive. What did you do? Blitz taps the plastic of his data jack. What I had to. Luster had declared war on me, so I retaliated. And I won. All without ever firing a shot. That's not an answer. Blitz sighs. You won't be satisfied until I spell it out, will you? Okay, fine. I hacked into Luster's computer and sent all of her information to a rival organization. Remember Frank from the hotel? He was my liaison. They hit the Schwarzherzen and they hit him hard. Then they took the hotel. And, then they took me. I'll admit that the plan backfired a little. I mean, let's be fair. He was in a pretty rough spot, and that's probably, like, the only thing he could have done. Right? You did what you had to do. In your place, I'd probably have done the same. And also, I'm not gonna cry about some, like, drug-pushing gangers dying. Like, whatever. Let's let out a sigh of relief. Thanks, Chief. I knew you'd understand. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to get back to what I was doing. He gives you a lazy salute. We'll talk later, I'm sure. And Chief, I'm glad to be a member of the team. That being said, Blitz was also one of those drug-pushing gangers, so, you know. Hey, Dante. You look down and see a pair of bright eyes set into a scruffy face looking back up at you. Dante, Monica's old dog. Looking down into those huge brown eyes, you see intelligence and sadness. On some instinctive level, he must know that his master is gone. Dante lets out a small whine, then rubs his head against your leg. Pet him. Yeah, his quest is good. Hey, boss. Dietrich gives you a slight nod. What can I do for you? How are you holding up? You seem to take Monica's death harder than the others did. Dietrich shakes his head, a wistful expression on his face. No harder, but I'm less buttoned up than the others are. A girl never let herself show any weakness in glory. Well, she's too full of chrome to feel much of anything. He shrugs. Me, I don't give a damn. I've spent too much of my life putting on a show for others already. What do you mean by that? I used to front a punk band way back when. Believe it or not, I've spent a pretty good chunk of my life on stage. Whenever we weren't playing, I was living up to our fans' expectations. Spouting off, getting into fights, getting drunk, getting laid. Not a bad life, all things considered. Dante is so sweet. I love him. Sad dog. Wait a second, you can sing? He regards you with a critical eye. I was the frontman for a punk band, boss. Fuck no, I can't sing. He grins, but it wasn't half bad at riling up a crowd. What was your band called? Maybe I've heard of it. Oh, I doubt it, boss. We never really got any airplay. Come on, Dietrich, tell me. Alright, boss, if you insist. The band was called Messerkampf. Spelled just like it sounds, in big capital letters with an exclamation point. We weren't a big act or anything. We sold a few records here and there, toured around Europe. We had a decent following in England, and we holed up in London from 31 to 36. Spent most of our time slumming it around the East End and picked up enough Cockney to irritate the folks back home. He shakes his head. Truth be told, that whole chapter of my life was a bit of a blur. We didn't do it for the fans or the fame, and we sure as shit didn't care about money. All that mattered to us was staying young and drunk and angry. He takes a moment to examine his gnarled hands, a sad smile on his face. We managed a second to. Good God, where has the time gone? Dietrich shakes himself from his reverie and looks back up at you. That familiar, easy grin returns to his face. Well, anyway, boss, everything ends eventually, and I washed my hands of all this years ago. So let's change the subject, if you don't mind. How did you go from fronting a band to running the Shadows? Wasn't as big a leap as you'd think. I already had a healthy disrespect for authority and had the match to back it up. One nice thing about shamanism, as long as you keep your idol happy, it doesn't matter what else you do. The Dragon Slayer chose me to be his servant, and as long as I was scrapping with someone bigger than me, he didn't much care whether I did it on stage or in the shadows. Tell me about the Dragon Slayer. He shrugs. Not much to tell. He chose me when I was just a kid. I could always feel him in my heart, goading me to laugh louder, hit harder, and get rowdier than the rest. Of course, my family didn't understand, but the hell with him, I thought. I knew that I was destined for greater things. So I listened to him, and I cracked the skulls of a lot of bad people. He saw this and was pleased and rewarded me with magic. And I used that magic to crack bigger, thicker skulls, and so on. He shrugs. It's a simple life, but a good one. No, yeah, it's honestly, the line of work probably intersects a lot in this world. Any thoughts about the last run that you'd like to share? Well, we found Winters. That's something, I guess. This whole thing has me feeling uneasy, boss. But at least we have a direction to look in. So long, Dietrich. Take it easy, boss. Fucking Dietrich is a character that I vibe with immensely. He's like one of my favorite kinds of character. BBS. And we got barely any money from that. We got no pay data from that? Really? I guess we didn't do any decking. Where to find elves? Is there any elf clubs or bars in the downtown area? I really want to meet one. They're just so beautiful. Maybe we can go dancing? Do elves like dancing? There's one on Torstrasse. Bring a bouquet of roses. Elves love a romantic. The elf clubs I know of are members only due to creepy groupies like you. Not really appealing when a guy is only after them for the shape of their ears. I run the creator on my character, but the Dragon Slayer idol sounds pretty cool. I should check the lore on creator. Yeah. 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 Elf fetishization is super not surprising. I mean, we're not gonna see this in the course of this playthrough, but Zach Flash literally like got surgery to change the shape of his ears. God, I would love to do Dragon Slayer idol. That'd be so fucking cool. Benno is a fraud. I broke my first rule. Always get full payment up front. Left me hanging for 50% of the cash after I completed the job. I'm sure he'll have changed his name by the time this posting goes up. Male elf, brown hair, gold eyes. Look to be in his mid-30s. Be careful who you work for out there. Never thought I'd see you admit to a mistake on here. Thanks for the heads up. I'll keep my eyes open. We'll forward any info I come across if you're still looking to collect from the guy. Sent you some surveillance footage. Is this your man? Sure is. Nice one. I'll split the take with you if this lead pans out. Good to find there's still some honor among runners. That was Blitz. Blitz sold that guy out immediately. I love that. We got no new jobs, so... Yeah. Novacat, what do you need? Hey, Glory, how you holding up? Yeah. No, that's the same. Okay. No update on Glory yet. Aga turns to face you. There is a pained look on her face. Look, I owe you an apology. I'm listening. When Monica died, I was pissed. That probably doesn't come as a huge surprise, but I took that anger out on you, and I shouldn't have. Should you push her there? Okay. Seeing Winter's body like that was enough to convince me. You couldn't have done anything to help Monica, and I couldn't have either. We're dealing with something new. Monica was a good friend of mine. Her death hurt. I got carried away, and I said some things that I shouldn't have. I want to apologize for that. Her body relaxes. She begins to turn away. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I think I'll wait on Glory because, like, I'm going for a very specific vibe with Glory. There are a few things that I want to say. She stops and turns back to face you. You can see the wariness behind her eyes. Go ahead. Nobody's stopping you. I accept your apology, but if you ever insult me in front of the team again, you're going to regret it. That's a promise. She nods appreciatively. Some backbone. That's good to see. Don't worry, Novacat. I won't question your competence again. Not in front of the others, at least. But I won't lie. I still have concerns about you. What kind of concerns? Basic ones. I don't want to see history repeat itself. What history are you talking about? I'd rather not go into it, fearless leader. Let's just say that I've had bad luck with underexperienced teammates and leave it at that. She turns away. You should go, fearless leader. I've got prep work to do for our next run, and you've got more important things to do than watch me pack my gear. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's entirely the thing that I do with these games. Like, I think it's very important to get into the mindset of your character in these. As much as the game will allow, obviously. Because, obviously, sometimes options are kind of limited. That's the nature of this being, like, a pretty budget CRPG. I shouldn't say budget, but, like, a lower budget, you know? It's no Pillars of Eternity, or Divinity Original Sin, or maybe not even a Disco Elysium. But it's still my favorite. Amsel's expression is harder than you've seen it before. When he speaks, his voice is grim. Ager has told me of Green Winter's death. She said that he died in the same manner that Monica did. It wasn't a pretty sight. Amsel nods gravely. I know that you and Ager have had your differences. I will tell you that she was badly shaken by the sight of Winter's body. She also mentioned that you found something in Winter's safe. A package full of very old discs. May I see them? Of course. Good God. Gingerly, Amsel lifts a disc from the bundle and holds it up to the light. Slowly, he begins to turn it in his hand, causing rainbow patterns to shimmer across the surface. I haven't seen one of these since I was a boy. This is a DVD-RW, a data storage medium from the mid-2000s. I'm amazed that Winters was able to find a device that could play it. Do you know how we can read these things? He puts down the DVD in his hands and quickly inspects the others. The first disc that I looked at might be readable. The others are damaged, some severely so. I have my doubts about them. For now, let's concentrate on the undamaged disc. There's a little shop outside, the Data Haven. Talk to the proprietor, Milite Holier. She might be able to help. Tell her to put the cost of the device on my account. I'm on it. And yeah, that is kind of the limitation of, like, translating a TTRPG to a video game, but, like, I think the Shadowrun games do suffer from, like, a limitation of, like, options of, like, how you can roleplay your character, almost. But, like, it makes sense because Harebrained Schemes wasn't a super big company at the time. Now they're way bigger. Like, they've made BattleTech like that, and that was huge for them. But just like dialogue options, like they seem pretty limited sometimes, and like your character can basically have one of 3 or 4 vibes, you know. But you know, it's something you deal with. I'm looking for something that can play back a DVD-RW. Really? That is old tech. Very old, in fact. Just a moment. I will go look. She turns to rummage through a bin of obsolete components at the back of her stall. Ah, yes. Here we are. The dwarf wrestles a mid-sized flat-screen display out of the bin. This display has old enough hookups to connect to a DVD player. RCA, you know. Vintage. The player itself, though, this I do not have. You may wish to try your luck down at the junkyard. There's a scavenger there, a primitive man with a crude disposition. If anyone here in the Cruise Bazaar can help you find your DVD player, he can, but he will almost certainly attempt to overcharge you for it. She takes a deep breath and smiles up at you. But you are not here for gossip. Shall we conclude our business? I could give you a display for, say, 200 new yen? Paul Amsel said to charge it to his account. Ah, very well. I will have it packaged up and delivered to her Amsel straight away. Best of luck finding your DVD reader. I wish you well. I love that this place has a junkyard. Every place should have a junkyard. Hey, it's the homeless guy from Shadowrun Returns. A stout old man looks up from whatever old tech he's tinkering with to squint at you through thick, old-fashioned glasses. He pushes them up with an oil-stained finger as he straightens up to nod at you. He speaks with a gruff but well-meaning tone, heavily accented with German tonality. Guten Tag, what can I do for you? Billy tells me you're the man I speak to about DVDs. That little shrew sent you my way, huh? Shraddy's smile broadens. The wonders never cease. Well, introductions are in order, I suppose. Shraddy Bookman. Bookman? At your service. The old man raises a grimy hand in salute. Need something salvaged? Some old components? Vielects? I'm indeed your man. Wonderful. How about the DVD player? Well, let's see. I think that I've got something that'll work for you. Scotty rummages through the junk heaped on the table behind him. There's 3 M's and rummages, apparently. A few seconds later, he snatches a battered plastic lozenge shape from the pile. Ah, here we go. An old Korean player that I dug up last week. 2010 model. Real beauty. Shreddy's smile broadens and he gives you a conspiratorial wink. I fixed her up and got her running, but without any discs to read, I've mostly been using her as a paperweight. Sounds like what I'm looking for. How much do you want for it? Shreddy glances back at the DVD player, a rueful expression on his face. Well, I'll admit I'm a little loath to part with her. There are plenty of folks out there who really appreciate an older player such as this, and I don't know what your intentions are for it. I suppose, given the time and trouble I took putting her back together, that I'd be willing to part with her for, oh, say... Shreddy's eyes dart over your gear, a calculated expression on his face. About 500 new yen? I'm short on cash right now. Could I offer you something in trade? The old man pauses for a moment, considering. I'll tell you what. A few months ago, I had a, well, I'll call it a difference of opinion with that Buragazi fellow from the soy calf shop. He hasn't let me into his establishment since, and I'd sell my mother for a decent cup of coffee. You got me a cup of Turkish coffee, the real stuff, not that fake junk, and I'll give you the DVD player. Sound like a deal? As it happens, I have a mug right here. Ah, thank you. Shroddy gratefully accepts the coffee, then snaps the lid back and inhales deeply, wiggling his mustache as he processes the scent. Yep, that's the real stuff, all right. Shroddy gingerly picks up the ancient device from the table and presses it into your hands. The plastic is scuffed and worn, and it rattles a bit when you move it. Give her some good use, okay? And that's why we got the coffee. A little bit ahead of schedule, but we got it. If you actually pay the 500, he reacts with shock. Oh, really? See, I always try to be as frugal as possible in these games, unless it comes to spending money on gear. Then I'm like throw all money to the wind. Okay, I need to actually time to buck up and actually upgrade our weapon skill. So we're not shit at it. What can we can save this last two, I guess. How's my dodge, actually? Bad. Really bad. Really, really bad. Really bad. Terrible. Awful. 0 points in dodge. It seems that Amstel has assembled a team in your absence. They stand in a group around the old display that you had Malik deliver. On their faces, you can see excitement and apprehension, curiosity and dread. Novacat, have you procured a DVD reader? Yeah, I have. It's right here. Good. This should only take me a moment. Amstel disappears behind the ancient display. After a few minutes of fiddling with its battered inputs, he reappears, a satisfied look on his face. Everything happens to be functional. This disc should be ready to play. Well, don't keep us in surprise. Start the damn thing already. Novacat went to the trouble of fetching everything. Let her do the honors. Amstel steps back, clearing a path for you to access the antique machine. A soft whirring sound fills the air as the ancient DVD player spins the disc up to speed. The scratched LCD display comes to life and a menu fills the screen. Play track 1. The screen goes black and a cheerful digital chiming sound fills out the display speakers. A crackle of static fills the air, coupled with a shrill electronic whine. After a few moments, the display goes live, and a disheveled-looking man appears on the screen. His eyes glitter with excitement. The timestamp on the screen is 2034-09-15. Hermie, I think we found her. After all this time. Fire Schwing. I knew that she wasn't dead. His speech is jittery. You can hear the urgency in his voice. She survived the Dragonfall, just as I've always said. I knew it, and I was right. The screen explodes into static, and the electronic whine in the background sharpens into a needle-like pulse of a high-pitched sound. Somewhere in the background, Dante lets out a low whimper. The screen clears, and the excited face is closer to the screen than it was before. The words spill out of him in a breathless tide. Taking a team into the Sox to retrieve her. The radiation be damned. We will take appropriate precautions, of course, but we must go. Hermie, I think that the body may be nearby as well. Somehow she has survived for all this time. The screen explodes into static again, then clears. The figure flickers across the screen. May not be back for some time. Look after Mom, okay? I worry about her. And Hermie, stay safe out there. I know that things are heating up in Berlin, and I know you. Student protests, civil uprising, you'll be in the middle of it, I'm sure. Just stay safe, alright? And I'll do my best to do the same. I don't know what's going to happen when I step into the SOX, but I do know one thing. If the Fire Wing is still a danger, I will put an end to her. Once and for all. The display goes black and the background whine fades away. A moment later, you find yourself deposited back at the menu screen. The screen goes black for a moment, then a figure appears on the screen. Your late client, Green Winters. His elbow is planted on the table that he's seated at, and his chin rests on his palm. The other hand is wrapped around a bottle of cheap whiskey. The timestamp on the video reads 20:53:12:25. I found a message Adrian left me all those years ago. Got it cleaned up as best I could. Strange hearing his voice again. He pauses to take a long pull on the bottle. It's good to hear him, even if he did insist on calling me Hermie. Dr. Adrian Vauclair, the hero of the people, the Dragon Slayer, my brother. He grimaces and rubs his eyes. Hard to believe it's been almost 20 years. Alright, so I'm gonna start recording these DVDs again. For me, for Adrian, for whoever might wind up watching them. Every time I do this, it winds up feeling like a waste of time. But I keep doing it anyway, on the off chance that I'll find something important. If I stumble into a clue that leads me to my brother, I know that I'm gonna want it on film. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, after all. No sense in quitting now. Christ, 20 years. All this time and still no leads. Even with all of my contacts and my resources. He takes another long swallow of cheap liquor. Even with my legendary bullheadedness, I've made no progress at all. I haven't turned up a single goddamned thing. Want to hear something funny? The closest I've gotten to a clue was a rumor. Apparently, a team emerged from the SOX a while back. Nobody's clear on the date, but... and get this. He leans into the camera and gives a conspiratorial wink. Supposedly, they vanished without a trace. He upends the bottle, drains it, slams it back to the table. His eyes are rimmed with red. Not much of a rumor, considering. I already know that you're gone, big brother. I live with that every day. Abruptly, Winters leans forward and reaches for something off-screen. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. There's a grinding sound from the DVD tray, and Green Winter's image appears on the screen. There is an eager look on his face. The timestamp on the video reads 20:54:10:12. Stumbled upon this archival footage of Firespring's original attack. Months before the Dragonfall. Easy to forget how devastating it was. Adrian saved a lot of people by bringing her down. I've got the footage all queued up to play, starting it now. Additional comments to follow. The slow whir of the DVD player shifts to a high-pitched whine. A distorted, wavering image blooms into being on the screen. A timestamp in the upper right corner of the screen marks the date. July 6th, 2012. Wow. Long time ago. That's like over 40 years ago. It's difficult to make out what you're seeing at first. The scene is dark and smoky, and the telltale flashes of emergency vehicle lights flicker on the periphery of the screen. The camera pushes in, and you can make out two figures standing in a ruined landscape. All at once, the sound cuts in. Again, for those of you just joining us, we are coming to you live from Stolberg. A few hours ago, the Dragon Fireswing launched an unprovoked attack on this Sleepy Hearts mountain town. And you can see the results behind me. Fire, ashes, and blood. We are joined tonight by a survivor of this latest and most horrifying attack. The reporter turns to face a pale man standing behind him. Sir, I understand that you've been through a terrible ordeal. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us tonight. The camera switches focus to a middle-aged man with a haunted look in his eyes. He stammers out a reply. Yes, of course. If you could, sir, could you please tell the people at home about your experience of the attack? It was horrible. Just pure chaos. So many people are dead. People I knew. Roasted alive or trampled to death trying to escape. My own house was burned to the ground during the attack. My family... we have nothing now. You all made it through the attack, though. Your wife? Your kids? Yeah, we all made it. Thank God. We rode out the attack in a small shelter. Me, my wife, and our 2 daughters. The shelter protected us, but the heat was just unbearable. We couldn't have stayed in there much longer than we did. How long were you holed up in there? 3, maybe 4 hours? I don't know. We just stayed inside until the heat died down and the screaming stopped. And what happened after that? When it was over, you know, when the air cooled down. The reporter nods and the man continues. We stepped outside. There was nothing left, just smoldering wreckage and this dense cloud of black, oily smoke. And the stench in the air. God, that smell. It smelled like roasting meat. There was a long pause. From the tortured look on his face, you can tell that the man is struggling to decide whether or not to continue speaking. Eventually, he does. My girls... They found what was left of their nanny outside. Her body, what was left of it, was slumped against the shelter door. I keep telling myself that I couldn't hear her pounding to get in. But that isn't true. I could. I just couldn't bring myself to open that door. I couldn't risk my family like that. Not for her, not for anyone. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to speak with us. Yeah. You heard it here, an absolutely chilling account of tonight's attack. Again, the town of Stolberg has been reduced to ash, another victim of the fire wing. Stay with us for more up-to-the-minute reporting on Fireshwing's Reign of Terror. Green Winter's face reappears on the screen. Okay, it's time for a new approach. Adrian's a complete dead end, that much is pretty clear by now. So I'm gonna do some digging on Fireshwing instead. Let's see where this goes. Man, that fucking sucks. If nothing else, Shadowrun Dragonfall is considerably darker than Shadowrun Returns. Like, Shadowrun Returns dealt with some pretty heavy topics, like the BTL stuff, obviously, and the serial killer. And then there was stuff with, like, Sam and Jessica, but I think, like, this consistently, puts to paper how fucked up, this world, like, is, and how chaotic and destructive, like, the whole event that was the Awakening was. Because this is basically like a history lesson in Shadowrun. Like, Shadowrun Returns was a good primer for the universe, but I think Shadowrun Dragonfall really, like, hits on the lore stuff really, really well, and, like, builds really good intrigue and makes you interested in, like, the past events of the universe. The DVD player ramps up to speed, filling the air with a shrill whining sound. Green Winter's image appears on the screen. The timestamp of the video reads 2054-1031. Yeah, the cult was also fucked up, but I think, like, that's a conventional, normal fucked up. Like, a conventional kind of fucked up that we understand. Like, I think this kind of deals with fucked up that is kind of foreign, but still somewhat familiar, you know? Well, that was a bust. Little progress on Fireshwing either. He shakes his head. I don't know. It's weird. The information is there. It's just raw. Whoa! Warpy Raid. Hello. Hello, Warpy. Hello, Coogie. Hello, probably everybody, honestly. How everybody doing? How's it going? How was Ghost Trick? Get tricked? Did I get tricked? Warpy's trick? Dang, I got tricked. I don't know, it's weird. The information is there, it's just wrong, somehow. It's too well laid out, too simple. Real life is messy, and this just feels a little too neat. That's not the only thing that's nagging at me. I'm getting that tingly feeling all up and down the back of my neck again. It feels like I'm being tracked. I'm no Matrix hotshot like Clockwork or Schaefer, but I'm good enough to know when someone's on my scent. Gotta install some new security measures. Can't be too careful. So what's fun is Clockwork. We saw them posting on the BBS, which is, like, nice. And then, obviously, reference to Monica. Also cool. Winter's image disappears. The display goes black. A few seconds later, the main menu returns. The date on this one is 2054-1109. Christ. I'm getting too close to something. There's a trail of bodies, and there have been disappearances. Gearbox, Marcian, Peregrine, they've all disappeared within the past few years. Gearbox just went AWOL yesterday, and they were all making the same sorts of inquiries about the Fire Wing that I've been. There are ghost stories spreading around the Decker community. Stories about Deckers disappearing, and then showing up again later, but wrong somehow. Scary stuff, and I'm starting to think that it's true. Blitz leans in to whisper to you. I know the stories he's talking about, Chief. Never really put much stock in them. Not until now. Could these rumors be related to what's happening here? Am I being paranoid? He pauses for a moment as if seriously considering the question. Then he shakes his head and slams his fist on the table. No, I don't think so. Something big is happening here, and I'm right in the middle of it. Ager cuts in. That's a bit of a leap. One other thing. Tolstoy told me a story about a kill team that might be related to all of this. Apparently, a decker named Hellbore posted a theory about Fireswing to the Shadowlands BBS about 5 years ago. About an hour later, a mil-spec team showed up in Meat Space and cooked her entire apartment. With her in it. Tolstoy. I wonder if that's a reference to a character in Hong Kong. It could be, because like Lucky Strike is actually used in Shadowrun Hong Kong, if I recall correctly. What was her name? That was her name, right? Lucky Strike? Something like that? If what Tolstoy told me was true, Hellbore live posted the event. She described her killer, this great big orc with skin grafts. Then the whole thread disappeared. Gone without a trace. Leap, Ager, love? Sounds like he's on the right track to me. Ager holds her silence, but concedes the point with a small nod. On the screen, Winters pauses. He looks like he's working up to something. Finally, he speaks. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. This has gotta be Fireswing. All of it. Adrian was right about her. She's still alive, and she's out of the SOX. She's covering her tracks, working the shadows, preparing to rise again. And that means I have to find you, Adrian. For everyone's sake. Thankfully, I've got a lead. For the first time in 2 decades, I've got a solid goddamned lead. I've backtraced all the Matrix nodes that Hellbore was looking into, back before she got cooked. Whoever's been purging the Matrix didn't think about that, and I found that she turned up. Winter stabs a few keys on his keyboard, and an image expands to fill the screen of his monitor. A satellite photo of a rural landscape annotated with GPS data. A set of map coordinates. So now I've got a target. A place to start digging. The Harfeld Manor, conveniently located on an isolated stretch of countryside miles away from prying eyes. Matrix records indicate that some sort of data vault exists beneath the estate, so that's what I need to get into. And this is where we came in. As if on cue, a familiar image winks onto the monitor to Winter's left. Monica. I think I'm gonna tap Schaefer for this job. She's got the skills to bypass whatever security they're running out there, and she's gullible enough to take the job in the first place. I'll feed her some line about Flux State security, and she'll eat it up with a spoon. I warned her. Amsel's voice is choked with rage. I warned her. On the display, Winter's mouth parts into a broad grin. Time to put plans into motion. By this time tomorrow night, I should have the information that I need. And on the off chance that Schaefer gets taken out, well, that'll tell me something too. Can't make an omelet and all that. Until then. Yeah, Worfy, I feel very much the same about Monica. When you play the 6th track, a small video window appears. You recognize the scene in the window. You were looking at the tattered drapes and nicotine-stained wallpaper of Winter's hotel room at Das Kessel House. The timestamp on the video reads 2054-1110. Oh yeah, he absolutely knew. He didn't care. Like, this is a man on a crusade, and he doesn't care what happens to anybody else that he uses for his ends. Like, he's fully lost it. Like he's gone. There's a blur of motion, and the haggard form of Green Winters lumbers into frame. Suspicions confirmed. Schaefer dead. Christ. Alright, Morphe, you have a good time, de-ghost tricking yourself. De-tricking. Untricking? Untricking. Winters reaches a shaking hand off camera. A moment later, it returns clutching a cheap plastic drinking glass. He gulps something down, wipes his mouth with the back of his hand, and takes a deep breath. Okay. Back up, slow down, start from the beginning. Winters closes his eyes and makes a visible effort to calm himself. When he speaks again, his voice is steady. Got the call from my contact in the cruise bazaar. Schaefer killed on the estate run. Matrix security at the estate cooked her brain. Considering Schaefer's skill and experience, on-site ice must have been extreme, even by Berlin standards. Security of that kind costs money. Real money. Given the evidence uncovered so far, corporate involvement unlikely. The connection to the Fire Wing is too strong. So, let's come right out and say it. The dragon is what we're dealing with here, and the smart money says that she's coming for me next. Well, I won't go down without a fight. I've still got my contacts, still got my connections, and the flux stay can be a hell of a weapon for the man who knows how to manipulate it. Winters takes another long pull from his glass, grimaces, and swallows. Time for me to make my play. Ghost stories or no, missing deckers or no, I've got to jack into the Matrix and start pulling strings. The countermeasures that I installed earlier should be more than enough to keep me safe for the 20 minutes I'll be in there. Winters drains the rest of the glass and tosses it back over his shoulder. A moment later, you hear the dull clattering sound of hard plastic on linoleum. Schaefer's death was tragic. She was a staunch supporter of the F-State, but still, all things considered. Winters fishes for something off-screen. A moment later, his hand reappears, clutching a data jack cable. Better her than me. He plugs the cable into his head and the screen cuts to static. Yeah, I really love the portrait change, like, halfway through this. This game, like, does a really good job of, like, changing the vibe dramatically with the portraits. As your finger nears the eject button, a black screen cuts in over the static. A moment later, Green Winter's haggard face appears. If you're watching this, then I guess that they caught up to me. They will be after you too now. Blitz whispers into your ear again, more harshly this time. What the hell is this? Why didn't you warn me about this before I came here? Not now, Blitz. Whoever you are, whatever you think you're after, you need to find Dr. Adrian Vauclair. Not because he's my brother, because if Fire Schwing is rising again, he's the only one who can stop her. You've seen what happens to people who get too close to this. I'm dead and dozens of others have died. You'll be next unless you can find Adrian. The screen cuts back to static. The message is over. DVD tray slides out of the reader. Well, that was intense. The room goes quiet as everyone struggles to process what you've just seen on the DVD. Finally, Dietrich breaks the silence. A dragon! Son of a bitch! Green Winter sent us up against a dragon. The Fire Wing. Amsel's voice is thick with dread. She lives. I'm really starting to regret the fact that I didn't just stay at the hotel. Ager ignores him. Wait a minute, we don't know for certain. Dietrich lays a hand on Ager's shoulder. The evidence seemed pretty convincing to me, love. I'll even take it a step further. I think that secret facility that we stumbled into was her lair. The room falls silent. Ager and Glory exchange glances. After a moment, Dietrich continues. Just think about it. The decker that Winters got those coordinates from was posting about Fire Schwing. Then she was killed by that same orcish bastard that attacked us after Monica died. That's a direct link between the dragon, the scarred orc, and the Hartfield Manor. And then Winters was killed by the same thing that killed Monica. Exactly. My gut tells me that the dragon is down there, Novacat. Someplace far beneath the surface. I think that we knocked on the door to her lair without even knowing it. And I think that, given what we've seen, the dragon will do whatever it takes to keep us quiet about it. Okay, going on the assumption that there is a dragon, and that she will come after us, what do you propose that we do about it? I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to follow Winter's advice. We're going to find Vauclair. Yes, Novacat is right. Finding Dr. Vauclair should be our priority. If we're going up against the dragon, we need to find ourselves a dragon slayer. Winter spent 20 years searching for Vauclair and it got him nowhere. How do you propose that we find him? With the help of an information broker. I'll go talk to Altu then. For this, no. While Harebrained Schemes is very capable, a task of this magnitude is beyond him. We need to make contact with the premier information broker in Berlin. We need to talk to Alice. Blitz scoffs at Amsel. Alice? Best of luck, and I hope that you're rich. Amsel raises an eyebrow. For this? Rich enough, even if only just. Who is this Alice? A most prominent figure in Berlin's shadow community. Ex-Shock Wellenreiter. She provides information retrieval services for the F-State. Amsel turns to the computer console behind him and runs his fingers over a virtual keyboard. The machine begins to hum. If Winters was right, if Vauclair is still alive, she can help us find him. The console spits out a stick of black plastic. Amsel plucks it from the computer and hands it to you. Here, your key to speak with Alice. A cred stick? Amsel nods. An encoded cred stick, yes. 10,000 new yen. Alice will not show her face for less. This represents the last of my personal savings with Novacat. Make this meeting count. Sounds like a fair trade to me. I'll take care of it. Good woman. Take the U-Bahn to the Altstadt Spandau. There you will find a connecting tube that the locals refer to as the rabbit hole. You will find a method of contacting Alice there. Don't call out that in front of her, though. Word on the street is that she hates it. Please hurry. While you're out there, I will work on acquiring new contracts for the team. Alice is the best there is at what she does, and her services carry a price tag to match. Right. Alright. Let's go talk to, a quote-unquote living legend. So Alice is a very prominent figure in Shadowrun, or very important. I shouldn't say prominent. She's very important. I believe... So way back in the day, like way back, there was like this huge virus that basically took out all computers in the world. Like basically Y2K, but real. And there was like a crack squad of Deckers, like the first Deckers ever, that went into the Matrix to like sort it out. Johnny Clean was one of those people, or is theorized to be one of those people, I think confirmed in, like, deeper lore than what we're gonna see in these games. And I think Alice was one of those people as well. No, it wasn't called Pluto's Kiss. Hold on, let me look it up. Because it is interesting, and I like it a lot. Shadowrun... It was the market crash, wasn't it? No. Yeah, the crash of 29. Market crash 29, I think. Wow, this is a really long Reddit post that I don't have the... let me just search Shadowrun Alice. So I'm not gonna get, like, spoilers out of that. Oh, wow, this wiki sucks. Yeah, the crash virus of 2029. Let me just read the wiki page for this. The crash virus of 2029 was an attack on February 8th, 2029 by a virus on the world's computer systems. It was a virus that caused damage beyond any known viruses in the past, erasing data and burning out hardware across the world, spreading mercilessly across the internet. It was eventually cleaned up and isolated by Echo Mirage, but the virus had the unusual ability to induce lethal biofeedback on members of the Cyber Commando team. The effect of the crash virus ranged from destabilizing world governments to the destruction of space colonies, causing the inhabitants to die a slow asphyxiating death, to the outright dissolution of various corporations. The world economy, especially among industrialized nations, suffered greatly, and the crash led to riots and the formation of several new nations. It also transformed the old internet/World Wide Web into the new Matrix. So the thing it says here about, how the virus had the unusual ability to induce lethal biofeedback. So I believe this virus was then repurposed, to the creation of black ice, which has that same effect where it can like kill a Decker's physical body. So the squad, Echo Mirage, are the people who took care of the, situation. Yeah, so Johnny Clean was one of the members. Alice was one of the members, which is interesting for reasons that we will get to later, because I believe that we can kind of tackle who she is. Oh, really? And apparently the CEO of Ares Technology. Possibly. That's interesting. Huh. Anyway, that's enough lore dump for now. Now, I don't think I have to worry about having high decking right now. But my decking is high enough for the thing that is interesting.